I want to welcome you to our demo of the Rently management system. The first thing you're going to see here is a link that will come to you, inviting you into the system, welcoming you to Rently. And if you click that link, it's going to prompt you to go ahead and set up your account. If you're already signed in, just like I am, it's going to take you to this page here that looks like there's not much going on, but that's okay. You're going to want to click first on Communities. Once you're in here, if your community is not set up yet, you want to click Add Community, where you can add all of your information. But most of you will have a community already set up for you, such as this one, my multi-unit apartments, with address information, unit access type, and a lockbox is assigned. Now, this is set up for multi-unit touring. There are some difference between multi-unit and single-unit touring. If you're looking for the single-unit touring setup instructions, that'll be on a separate video. This is for multi-unit touring. Now, in multi-unit touring, we do need to claim a lockbox. We've claimed this one. If we need to swap out a lockbox, I can go ahead and put that one in here and swap this one out and save it. And you'll see that it's now swapped out. This is also where I'll manage it if I happen to have a key that goes missing or isn't accessible in the system. This is where I can reset it. You will see all lockboxes managed by your company in this section, so be mindful of that. Now, the first thing we want to look at is to confirm the name of our community address, and our information here. The next thing we'll have is hide price. If you use a revenue generation software or some sort of algorithm to update the rent price regularly, you'll want to go ahead and click this button to hide the price. If you do not, then you will leave the box unchecked, and we'll go ahead and communicate that price within Rently. Next, you have your community listings link. This is your number one way to get the Rently system into the hands of your prospects and to put them into the correct path to go ahead and register for a self-showing. So I want to click here to see our community page. Now, yours will likely initially not show as much information as this. This one's already been set up by me to show all of the correct information, including multiple different photos of our beautiful community here. However, if we're going into here, this is what you'll be using, so keep this handy. Next, we're going to upload a beautiful community map so that people can see when they go through the tour. Parking instructions, which we'll need to let them know this is the first interaction they have with your community, so you want your parking instructions to be clear and well labeled so that they know exactly where to park, and an image uploaded as well. Common area access instructions. For multi-unit touring, it is exactly as it implies, with the lockboxes representing multiple units. So each lockbox represents every available unit. You'll want to put the lockbox in an easily accessible location. This one is right at the front door. It's going to be right near the front door. It's going to have a fob inside to access the main door, and then it's going to have the instructions to go ahead and enter into the property. Now, if you are working with single unit, this will be separate, and like I said, that'll be another direction. But multi-unit means that they can tour multiple units through one lockbox access. So multi-unit touring means exactly what it sounds like. They can tour multiple units. This is valuable even if you only have one community or one unit in your community available, because it does allow for community touring. It gets them in the door and through your community. So once I've uploaded all that information here, the other thing I want to do is community rules. These will be communicated to the renter during their tour, very initial and early on. These are not necessarily your full leasing resident community rules. These are going to be rules specific to the tour. Things like don't disturb current residents, don't bring pets, please close and lock all doors, and don't access any amenities that are not on the tour or are closed. This can be important, especially making sure that people get through the process in a way that respects your current residents and your community, and it communicates them the boundaries that they need to follow when going through your community. So it's a really good way to make sure people feel comfortable and safe, but also that your current tenants and you guys as managers continue to feel good about it. Next thing you want to do is set up your community admin settings. We're going to upload a community logo. As mentioned, it's going to show up on your page. You'll see this information here matches this information that we see here. So you're going to want to upload information. This will be publicly accessible information that shows up on your Rently page. So a publicly accessible phone number and leasing email address, as well as website URL and application URL. We'll want to make sure to set up our time zone correctly. If we set it up wrong, Rently's system will not recognize the tours when they're set. If you set up for Pacific time and happen to be in Atlanta, Georgia, if your prospects go out there at 8 in the morning thinking that they've set up a time for that, our system will think it's Pacific time, and therefore that it's 5 in the morning and not let them into the system. Make sure this is set correctly right off the bat. If it is set with no setting initially, there will be no tour slots available because we don't have a way to tell what time they should be. Next thing you need is community media. That's where we get this beautiful carousel from with all of our images. So take all of your community media. This is our main photo, and these are our pieces of media that we have. We have in-unit photos, some amenities photos, as well as a beautiful photo of the entrance to the property, and that will all be available to them. Next thing you're going to want to set up your showing calendar. As you can see here, weekdays, it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We don't do any showings on Saturdays at my community because my current tenants actually enjoy having a quiet Saturday. But you can do whatever works for your community, including closing off Sunday mornings, closing off times when you might need to have some kind of staff meeting or work is going on. This rolls forward 7 days, so these changes take place next week. You can also add a second window. So if you have morning and evening tours, but during the middle of the day, you don't want them to be available, you can do that, and you can delete as well. You can also set up alerts. So you see here I've set up a couple of email addresses for alerts. These are alerts that are going to show, depend on the activity of your prospect. So tours, when a renter schedules or checks in for a self-tour, you'll get an alert if the box is checked. This is the key return. So in the renter process, we do ask them to check the key back in to the lockbox at the end of the tour. If they fail to do so, they may very well have put it back. We still want to know. We're going to have to go out there and verify. The lockboxes are not connected to anything directly via Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular, anything like that. They are a standalone device, so we do need to have manual verification. So if a key alert is submitted that says potentially the key was not returned, you'll see that here, and you go ahead and be able to check that out and see. Next thing is survey. So if we go ahead and get a survey from our renters, both community and unit level surveys, 1 through 5 stars, we're going to go ahead and send that to you as well. Help inform you that somebody has completed a tour and is excited about your property, or perhaps you got a completed tour notification and that person isn't exactly stoked about them. So you can spend your time elsewhere on someone who is going to give you 5 stars. We also communicate community and unit separately. So they have a survey for community and a survey for unit, because if they don't like the unit they're touring but love the community, you may have another unit that works more effectively for them. That's a great chance for you to check in, reach out, and follow up. So you want to set all of these items up. Another thing to note is these emails don't have to be entered into Rently as login credentials, so agent credentials. You can actually just set these alerts to go to any email address you have on site. One example is I have a community where they have an on-site maintenance manager who lives on the property and who is able to go out 24/7 and check out on any problems. They gave him key return access so he can see alerts and notifications in his email inbox if a key is not returned. If they get that notification, that maintenance person can go out and verify whether or not it's in the box and send a message to the community manager, even if it's a time when the community manager is not in the office, so you can go ahead and reset the tour and not prevent anyone else from going. So we'll save those alerts. Now I mentioned that key return. You will see a little box here that says the key is not returned if they fail to return the key. If they have returned the key and we just didn't get the report of it for one of many reasons, you can go ahead and click on this and reset it. If you don't, and that box has that key return failure, that missing key alert, and that little red thing is on there, a little blue key with the red circle through it, you're actually going to not be able to schedule any tours on that lockbox. So it's important you clear that out to prevent anyone from having any issues. If someone doesn't return a key, we don't want to send a renter out and assign him to a lockbox that doesn't have a key inside. That'd be a really frustrating experience for them. So please make sure you're checking these regularly and keeping up on them. The final thing we need to set up in this page is our building management. You'll see here I have a building already set up. This is where we can actually enter in multiple buildings. So the thought process is you have a company, which is multifamily company, whatever your company is. Then you have underneath that a community, and within your community you have buildings, and within those buildings are units. Even if you only have one building, we still ask you to set it up. If you have multiple, this is actually where you can set up multiple different addresses. So if I have building number 2 is at 6302 Wilshire Boulevard, I can save that as well. This helps us manage and figure out where to send prospects to correctly. So if they need directions specifically, you can give them here. You can also edit these at any point in time if you want to. So now we set up our building, our community with everything we need to go. This is all ready to rock. Next thing we want to do is make sure we have our devices. Now, if we click on our device section here, you'll see I have 2 unassigned and I have 1 that is assigned. This one has my community name on it, Aaron's Multi-Unit Apartments. I've created name, I know. And you'll see over here we have unlock, which allows you to open the key. And we have unshackle. You'll get a code for unlocking. That code is when you enter into the box, enter, and then a 7 to 8 digit code. and then enter again. That will generate a sound, a beep, and then a whirring noise, and then the box will pop open. It pops open kind of like an oven. The front of the box opens up and folds out. You can stick keys inside. You can fit up to 7 separate keys inside if you're careful. I typically recommend 3 to 5 because we want to make sure that those don't get jammed up. If you're closing the lockbox and you're having any resistance, don't close it up. It can get jammed, and then we're stuck with the keys inside. Instead, you're going to want to go ahead, take those keys out, move them around a little bit, put them back in, and close it in a way that works. Don't give these unlock codes out to prospects, as there is no security features. They have full access to your lockbox. It's basically like taping a key to your front door and saying, welcome, come on in. This is only for internal use. Then we also have our unshackle, the U-shackle, which is where we attach the lockbox. Unlock being key, lock, makes sense there. Unshackle being the thing that attaches it to the facility. So a gate, a fence, a door handle, a doorknob, wherever you may be attaching it, some kind of stanchion. This is where we unshackle it to attach that. That U-shackle is on top of there. You enter the unshackle code function and then a 7 to 8 digit code, and then you hear a whirring and it should release. You can pull the shackle right on out. The shackle does come entirely out, so be careful with that. If you have it open or the shackle taken out, so unlock or unshackle, and you leave it there for a couple of minutes, it will actually go into anti-tampering mode or tamper-proofing mode, where it actually locks open or the shackle locks outside. If this happens, go ahead and re-enter the code that you entered. It'll release it. You'll hear an engine whirring, and you'll be able to close it or put the shackle back inside. So now that we've placed the lockbox in the relevant place and put the keys in there, we're going to need to add some units. Now you'll see here, if I go to my community that I've set up, here is my unit that I have set up currently. Now this one's already on market. Now with multi-unit touring, once a unit is set in there, it is assigned to all lockboxes available in your community. So you'll want to make sure the physical key for every unit you have available is in every lockbox for them to use. We do typically note that you want to demark the keys separately. Some people have color-coded keys. Other people utilize a tag system. Whatever works for you, you want to make sure they know which key to use. So you'll see here we have a listing link. This is my community listing link. If I click view here, it's the same link as we saw here with our community page, with our unit available for information here. We also have our market status, so I can turn it on and off market if I'd like to, or edit view. Edit view is going to be over here, and that's going to be where you make any changes. So if you need to update any of the information in here, you can do so. If you need to add a new unit, click on the blue Add Unit button, and we're going to go ahead and put some information in here. Basic, we have our marketing, media, and showing information, just like we have in Edit View. Now you'll notice when I enter this information in here for my current unit, I see a green check mark. This is an API with Google Maps that checks it. You can actually show on the map and you can see where this is located here in West Los Angeles. If I need to move the pin, I can move it anywhere and it will automatically update. You'll see in the background the geolocation. This is important because this is how we give them directions, and when they check into the property, one of the ways that we verify their security credentials is to check that they are on site. It is one of several ways. However, if this pin is off, it can cause some issues in the process. We want to make sure that pin is where it needs to be. If you need to zoom in, you can show on map, and if you click Control and scroll, you can zoom in, or you can use the buttons here to zoom in and zoom out. You can also go into Street View and allow yourself to see, just in case you need to figure out if you're in the right spot. Next, we have our marketing information. We have our price and deposit, which can be same as price, title and description, bed, bath, and square footage, cats, dogs, and our amenities. We sort them both by community and unit amenities. So there are some, for example, gated entry and pond or pool or gym, which will be community and amenities. And then we have other things like porch, washer, dryer, oven, range, refrigerator, which will be unit amenities. So you can fill those out to your heart's consent. Just scroll through and click to add. Next thing we have is our showing information. Now you'll notice as I go, there's little issues on each step of the process because I didn't click save. If you don't click save, by the end of this, it will let you know that you didn't click save. This is where I can turn on and off auto showing, set my rent ready date, and add in unit directions. Now you'll see here, take a walkway through the entrance. This comes up after they have checked into the lockbox. So that lockbox will be near the entrance of your community. Once they check in, we will pop these instructions open for them to scroll through. Try to make sure you think of this process as if you had never been at the property. go through a tour and actually walk through the process and see where you might get lost or might need more information. So for example, this has a beautiful map so that they can see where the pool courtyard is and what the layout looks like in that step, because that's the step where they need to go to the unit. This can be different and unique for each unit. We can also actually move things around. So if at some point in time you do wish to add a specific amenity or piece to the tour, or if you're just getting people lost and you want to add an additional step in the process, you can actually add an additional image, move these over, and update the instructions with whatever you want. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on to media here, which is where we upload our photo. This is typically something where we recommend doing a floor plan. We only display currently one photo per unit. Now I'm sure on many of your sites you have multiple different photos. This specifically is to allow them just to kind of get a quick glance at the unit. You don't need to give them a lot of information here. We recommend a floor plan or representative photo of the unit be added there. We also want to make sure it's on market before we go so that we have it marketed. If we set it to off market, it won't syndicate. And if you delete, it will completely remove the unit from the listing. So I'm going to save this here and we're going to wait for it to save. Oh, unit is updated. We can go back now. We can view this from here. Now, if that unit is leased and I need to update the market status, I just move it to off market and it's going to ask me if I want to move it. Now, if we go to our link here for our property, when we reload, we're going to see that there's no longer units available for tour. We are now out of units. If I go back here and I go to on market and save, set it to auto showing, list now, it's on market. And if I go back to my community listing link and reload, look what I've got, a unit right here ready for me to use. You can add additional units here. You can add as many as you like. You can sort and filter based on what unit name or status it is in on the left with the basic information, or click edit view to edit. Like I said, it is important you have all of these instructions ready to go and up and running. We will be reaching out to you directly with information just to check out on your account if we notice any issues or anything like that. If you do need help, I recommend in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, clicking on the Get Help button, enter name, email address, and what's going on. You can attach a screenshot or any information you have. Shoot us a message. Let us know if you're having issues. We'll get back to you through our ticketing system as soon as we possibly can. If you need to update your account information, you can do that by clicking up here on the top, update your email address, resend an invite, and reset a password, update your email address, phone number, and your role as well. If you need at any point in time to make a change to your community, you can do that from your community page, add additional communities, or search communities as needed. If you are set up with only one community and assigned to that community with the role, you will actually only see your community and only see your community units. However, if you can see multiple, you may actually have a drop down here which allows you to see multiple communities. This is useful if you manage multiple communities or you're looking from a corporate view. But that's how you use that portion of the system. So I really appreciate you guys sitting down and working through this with me. This is the Rently system from the Manager portal. If you'd like to view how to set up a single unit touring, you can check out our other video on how to do that. You can also check out our renter experience video. If you haven't yet, I encourage you to do so. It helps you understand some of these steps in the process and what you might need to do to better service your renters.